19 minutes before the top of the hour. Despite living in the age of information, there is still no clear explanation for what causes cancer. However, the number of people diagnosed with the disease continues to rise. Defeating cancer is no mean feat, especially when one is faced with no option but to undergo a mastectomy. This is what happened to Rahab Zulu, a breast cancer survivor who is with us in studio this morning. Joining her is Dimpho Chweneyagae, who is the program manager for women's reproductive cancers. Ladies, good to have you in studio. Thanks so much for being with us.
Morning, thank you.
Yeah. So if we look at you know, quite a thing is with all of the information around, we still don't know what causes cancer. And yet it's still something that affects people on a daily basis all over the world. Talk to us about the South African situation. How are we looking in South Africa?
From the South African perspective, actually on the women's side, breast cancer is the highest. Okay. And it's affecting women a lot from age 25 upwards. It's not like before where people would think that cancer of the breast can only affect an older women. So it's actually affecting more women from age 25 and above. Mm-hmm. So, and it's like about 2,400 of the 100,000 women affected by cancer of the breast.
And this is a big number. That's a very big number. I mean, I always remembered where people would say, no, you know, you can only, you go for your, you can go for your mammograms and whatever after, I remember it was an age that they'd give you at least once a year, over 40.
It's once a year, after 40 years.
Not anymore. When do you recommend that women go for their mammograms?
Okay, first and foremost, we recommend that women do have their self-breast examination every month, 7 days after their menses, and actually have care providers to actually afford them an opportunity to examine their breast regularly. Yeah. At least once a year, they must have their breast examined. And
from as early as possible, from an early age?
Yes, from an early age. So that when they detect any abnormality, the patient can be referred for diagnostic for other extra tests or screening that can be actually come out with the diagnosis of whether she's having breast cancer or not. Yeah, yeah. And basically in terms of the mammogram, we recommend that women do mammogram once in 10 years according to policy. But if there is something suspicious, they need to do it every year.
Okay, okay. So Rahab, let's talk about your story. Yes. And you obviously, as we say, you're a breast cancer survivor. What happened? How did you pick it up, and what is your story?
My story, Leanne, is that I picked it up in 2017. That's when I was diagnosed in October, ironically in the month of breast cancer awareness. And I had a pain on the left breast, but then I didn't think it could be cancer because I was so young.
Yeah. How old were you?
I was 35 at that time.
Okay.
I was so young, I didn't think that I could have cancer. I had pain, temperature, and I thought to myself, what is this thing that is happening? And fortunately at my work, we have got awareness month whereby we have service providers that come and check us, and they couldn't find anything. And I was sure I was fine, but I could feel this pain. And eventually I thought, let me look up places where I can get this checked up. And I found a place and I went in, got checked, went through the scans, did a mammogram because there was something that was showing. I did a biopsy. Unfortunately, the results came back in a few days later saying that we've got bad news to tell you, you are stage 3 cancer. Wow. Not only stage 3, but it has already spread to the lymph nodes. Wow. And we didn't know how many lymph nodes were involved at that time. So I had to quickly start with chemotherapy. And it had to be a very aggressive chemotherapy because of the advance of the stage. And I've done that. And unfortunately, I had to do mastectomy because the cancer was so advanced. I had to do mastectomy without reconstruction. Mm-hmm. Hence, you would have seen my images that I do every now and then to create awareness about the cancer. I did mastectomy, I did radiation, 25 fractions of radiation, and I came out to be okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
These are the images that you're referring to that we've got on the screen right now.
That's right, that's right.
And I mean, they're very powerful. These are powerful yet beautiful images. They really, you look magnificent in them. But what is that message you're trying to get out with this?
Leanne, when I went on a photo shoot and I created these images, I wanted to break the stigma, because we are so young. I am so young, and women, when they're young, they don't think that they would have cancer, just as I thought I
you're
would.
Indispensable, right?
Yeah. And they don't think that they'll have cancer, just as I thought I would not have. And I want to send out a message that will resonate with the target audience, because young women, they don't go out and get checked. Young women, they don't self-breast examine, as it is indicated that you should self-breast examine. And when you see something that is unusual, you should go and get checked. Young women are in denial. And I am using myself as a message. I am using myself to advocate. I am using myself to create awareness, because I am aware that these images are quite compelling. This image sends a very strong message. And I am saying, let the change start with me. I have gone through this. I don't want, if it were to be up to me, I don't want to see any more women going through what I've gone through. At least women should be diagnosed at stage 1 or even stage 0 if there's such a thing. Because you might not be lucky as I am sitting here today, having gone through such a rigorous process and having been cleared of cancer after being diagnosed at stage 3.
Yeah. And you know, Dimpho, when we talk about cancer, is there still a stigma associated with it? Because as we're saying, the earlier you are diagnosed with it, the better your chances are. And yet we find that women are too scared to go for these tests, and they don't want to know, and they'll just rather leave it. Is there a stigma, and why is there a problem with going for tests and self-examining even?
Yeah, definitely there is a stigma to breast cancer. Women think breast cancer is only for older women, and a lot of, particularly in the black nation, there is a racial issue around it as well. People were thinking that breast cancer is a white disease, and definitely not, because it's affecting women across all racial lines. And definitely there is.
Where would a belief like that come from? If you think about it, I mean, women we're all the same, really, I suppose. So how did something like that come about?
I think those are just the myths that we need to demystify most of the times. And obviously, lack of access to information could be one of the reasons why people actually have their own thinking around breast cancer. And your family, I mean, how did they react when you told them and when you found out that you had breast cancer?
It was quite a shock. As Dimpho says, from a black background, people don't expect a black young woman to have cancer. And I come from a small village in Eastern Cape where these things are not talked about. So when I broke the news, the first thing would be, we know Baba's Mama will be able to help you. I remember speaking to my brother on the phone and saying, hey bro, I've been diagnosed stage 3. And he was so feeling bad and saying, no, you should go to this person. I said to him, look, there is a process that I know I need to follow. I have to go through treatment, and I know I will be fine. I don't want to go through shortcuts. So family wanted it to be resolved as in yesterday. Family don't want to accept that one of their own is going through such. Hence, I decided to use my images. Hence, I decided to go through my digital platforms to create this awareness. Because if we don't speak about it often, then it never gets known. And people not only go and read and do research, some people understand by seeing the images. So we've got to understand different ways of communicating with our people. I've since changed my lifestyle from being just an ordinary person and being more careful of what I eat, physical activity and all that. Hence you will see on my Instagram profile that I advocate even on fitness, I advocate even on a healthy eating, I advocate even on mental awareness, because when you go through these things, there's also the mental state that needs to be looked after. And when we don't talk about these things, people don't know. So whatever that I have gone through or whatever that I keep on going through, I explain to my audience, I speak to them and I say to them, these are the things that I'm going through. This is how I'm overcoming them, because I realize that more women could be faced with this and they're voiceless wherever they are.
But you've taken yourself as an example of what you can do.
Absolutely.
What was it like for you when you had to go through a mastectomy. And it's something that I've realized, I mean, it didn't just happen overnight that you could show it off and pose for photographs. It must have been a very difficult process that you went through to eventually self-accept you, your body, the new you, and your life.
It is very difficult, first of all, for the doctors to tell you that you are going to have mastectomy. It's not an easy conversation that you need to have, especially at the age of 35 or 36, as I was when I did mastectomy. It was a very tough decision. I wouldn't even say it as a decision because I didn't have a decision, because at the end of the day, if I didn't have mastectomy, I wouldn't be sitting here
So there was
today.
no choice for you.
There was no choice.
This was, you have to have it done.
I've had to have it done. And most of the women, when they have mastectomy, they do reconstruction because they can. I couldn't, simply because I still had to do radiation, which I had to be very rigorous to the chest area, to the regional lymph node area, to make sure that the cancer is gotten rid of. So mastectomy took away some of the womanhood. I would not lie to you, but I am going through therapy as I'm speaking to you right now, because these are the issues that people don't understand, and days are not the same. Some days we fine, some days we're not fine. Hence, every week I go through therapy to break through this clutter, to understand exactly what is happening. So when I decided that let me do this, it was part of me healing. It was part of me not having to explain myself in so many words. And it's so therapeutic when I put these images out there, when I get the message back that says, you look so beautiful.
Wow.
Even in that scar, you look so beautiful.
And you really do. You really do, I must say. That's something to be proud of. And I think it is setting a great example that this is nothing to be ashamed of. This is a life-saving thing that doesn't take anything away from you, even though psychologically it does. You mentioned something so interesting, and perhaps I can ask you about this, Dimpho. In your rural village in the Eastern Cape, going back, telling the story, and you also speaking to some of the myths surrounding breast cancer. How do you spread that message? How do you get out there? I mean, we saw this, the walkathon taking place this yesterday. I think it was the Tembo walkathon. I saw all my roads closed around me, and thousands of women going into the streets and walking and running and, you know, coming together and talking about the awareness around it. But we live here, we hear it all the time. There's still a lot of more education that needs to take place. My concern, however, are these people in the rural villages and those people far away from all of these events that are taking place. How do they know? Do they even check? Do they even know how prevalent it is in the rural areas? Talk to us about that.
Okay, in October 2018, after the SONA 2018 presidential speech, there was a launch of National Cancer Campaign. That National Cancer Campaign is actually very vigorous around the 5 cancers, including the breast cancer, because it is quite rife. And a lot of work has been done, a lot of campaigns are going on, pamphlets are being sent out, the billboards are showing everything and anything around breast, cervical cancer, your prostate cancer, skin cancer, and childhood cancers. So definitely there is a lot of work being done, a lot of messages going to the people through community settings, through the media, through all sorts of stages that we can actually address the issues around cancers to women.
Yeah. Please continue.
And apart from that, we are trying to do, on regular basis, all the provinces are trying to do the regular cancer screenings, whereby you actually combine your cervical cancer and your breast cancer and use all the opportunity available to make sure that you examine. So what we are advocating for is, at every facility, at every entry point, people should actually use an opportunity to examine their breast. And make sure that if there is something suspicious, link those people to oncology services so that diagnosis can be done.
All right, just finally, you're now clear?
Yes.
Correct? You're completely clear?
Completely clear.
That's amazing.
Completely clear.
Absolutely incredible. What a beautiful feeling that must be. But I'm sure in the back of your mind it still plays on you all the time.
It does.
Yeah. This is a lifelong battle that you must constantly, all of us actually, have to constantly go through.
It's a life-changing situation. I have been cleared, but every single day counts. Every single day you gotta be grateful for seeing the day, seeing it through, and every minute counts.
Yeah.
Every little thing that you do, it counts. You count your blessings more than anything. You see life as being a cup that is half full than half empty. So you are more on the grateful side, because it could have been otherwise. But we are here, we are where we are today.
Fantastic. For those that want to follow you on your social media accounts, because it sounds like this is where you're most active and it really hits across that message, talk to us about your details.
For those that would like to follow me, please do so. My name is Rahab. On Instagram, I am _Rahab. I'll repeat, _Rahab. On Facebook, you can find me on Zulu. That's where I share my journey with most of the people, and I would like to meet you.
Excellent. Rahab, thank you so much, and continue being this wonderful example to everybody out there that may be going through a very tough time in their lives. And of course, Dimpho, thank you so much. Dimpho Chweneyagae, who is the Program Manager for Women's Reproductive Cancers. Thanks so much for all your invaluable advice this morning.
My pleasure. Thank you so
All right, let's take a break here on the program, and when we return, I think it'll be